welcome to Ag Talk in the Raw Live. So I'm not going to be able to read any. I'm not going to be able to read any comments, but this video goes out to Eastern Shore Farmer. He said he was bored last night. He needed some agricultural nonsense that comes from my mouth. I should probably put my hat on so people recognize who I am. Yep, there I am. So yeah, I'm hauling hay and bringing compost home, and I just want to talk about input costs. And there's a lot of farmers that have their stuff purchased, and there's a lot of fertilizer going on right now for everything. So I got my initial offer for my mulch hay for the year 2022, and it was dismal, quite dismal. I mean, really dismal. So I'm not going to talk about the price that I'm getting, because I don't know about getting more than me. They get less than me. I know. I talked to two guys and they told me what they were getting. They're just starting out doing their thing, and there are farmers that are getting as much as me, and they're doing the same damn thing, and a bit to the bank as well. So with that being said, the offer came back at $5 a ton more than last year. That not only my input costs are going up, their input costs have gone up as well. Now, I've been in this business since 1998. I've been making mulch hay for that long, since 1998. So what is that, 24 years? This will be 24 seasons of growing mulch hay. That's a lifetime of work for an individual. I also grew corn and soybeans, wheat, rye, barley in that time as well. Did alfalfa, did Timothy hay for idiot bricks and all, and seemed to always come out on top. But the last few years, with the declining, the increased cost in those 2 years, I'm going to say 2 years, 2 seasons, let's put it that way, and the increased and the decrease in the price that I'm getting paid. I have made more per ton than they offered me. Just I was in a bad area. So I just want everybody to know that my baling twine increase in baling twine cost per ton is more than what they just offered. Diesel fuel a year ago was like $2 and change, low $2 a gallon. Today it's in the $4 range. I haven't gotten any fuel delivered because I haven't gotten paid in a while. I've gotten some money, but it's like trickles down and I can't even pay all my bills. But I can tell you I'm owed about $125,000 right now. Right now I'm owed $125,000. Now, in the mulch hay world, that's quite a bit. I could sell the corn, but they don't want to pay market price. Corn closed at $8.33 day before yesterday. $8.33, and I would have loved to contract all that corn for $8.33. Problem is, they are only willing to pay $6 and $6 and like 25 cents or some shit like that. They dropped the basis on everything, so we're not getting paid what the market price is. Now, I hear that everybody's like, oh well, with corn and soybeans being as high as they are, the poor beef farmers, the poor dairy farmers, the poor chicken farmers can't afford to buy it. Well, yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. All they got to do is either reduce their flock size, or the big chicken producers are not going to not produce chicken. They're going to raise the cost of the food, the end product. They have to. And in order to keep a constant flow of poultry, pork, beef, milk coming in, they're going to have to pay that price. Yeah, consumers are going to have to pay the price, because I just don't see 350 million people in the United States becoming farmers again. Just not going to happen. Yeah, my wife is in the process of starting a new business where she will be catering to city folk, rich city folk. Looks like a good business to be in. I'm proud of her for even attempting it. But, you know, it is what it is. And if those people can buy the products that my wife will be offering for the price that she will be offering them at, it's just staggering to me that the excess amount of money that these city folk have to spend on such frivolous things. I got to move over because there's a school bus there at the damn railroad. So anyway, yeah, they'll spend money on frivolous kibitz, I guess you want to call it, or little dangly things that they have in their pockets and shoulders and things like that. But you know, when it comes to food, they bitch and complain. But they'll go to a restaurant and think nothing of spending $300, $400, $500 for a steak dinner. You know, and I'm probably underestimating that. And I've been to New York City a lot of times, and me and my wife, we actually like to go to the Japanese barbecue known as yakiniku. That is the Japanese term, and it's really good food. And we will between the three of us, me, Teresa, and William, we'll spend, you know, $100 and some odd dollars on that meal, and it's just really a lot of fun. Good conversation. The waitresses are very nice. The beer is good, and I'm not a beer drinker, but you have a couple of beers while you're eating, and you know, you have a good time. And so city folk are just going to have to come to terms with the high price of food, because there's no way in hell they're going to be able to raise it. Now you've got the middle class, which would be probably the most hurt by increased food prices. But I've been to the grocery store, I've been to Walmart, I've been to the park, I've been all over the place. There are a lot of people eating a lot of food because it shows on their bodies. There are a bunch of fat people here. So obviously there's an excess in the food that they're eating, if you want to call it food. A lot of this stuff is a food-like substance. I will steal that terminology from Gabe Brown. A food-like substance known as food. Basically processed food. When you read the ingredients, and you know, the first ingredient is the additives that they put in the food-like substance you're about to consume, like sugar and stuff like that. Yes, that is an agricultural product, but it is not a healthy thing, because the rising levels of diabetes in the world is due to those sorts of things. Rice is a grain, but it converts to sugar in your body, causing all that stuff. And I'm using rice as an example because the Filipinos, to whom I am married to one, have an incredible problem with diabetes and kidney disease, i.e. salt. Lots and lots and lots of salty substances like soy sauce and fish sauce and all these things. If you've ever tasted them, they're very salty. Salt is mind, so you know. Anyway, what's that got to do with agriculture? Everything that I've just mentioned has to do with agriculture. We've got avian flu. I heard last night that the eagles have got avian flu and they're dying. You know, the beautiful white-headed buzzard known as the American bald eagle. Yeah, that thing. It's got the avian flu, and or avian bird flu, and they're dying. There's a lot of problems with hogs, and these are in concentrated, operations where you'll have 10,000 hogs and, you know, a couple 100,000 birds, whether it's poultry, you know, chickens, turkeys, broilers. I don't know about layers. I haven't heard that layers have had these problems yet, but I know it's in the fast-growing broilers that this avian flu, and even the hogs, they get pneumonia or swine flu or whatever the hell it is. And I was watching Ag TV the other day at my parents' house because my dad is addicted to it, and that's fine. There's some things to be learned about what you see on that particular television program, and one of them is that they will lie to you there. It was really kind of funny that the words that I heard come from these uh, reporters. You would think that on an ag station they would be honest and it wouldn't be fake news. But what I heard was the reason we have these outbreaks of avian flu and swine flu and all these other things is because of backyard flocks and small producers who do not keep their hog houses clean. And yeah, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I don't know anybody that's got a small flock at home that has these problems. They don't originate there. They actually, backyard flocks are out there in nature. They're eating bugs. They're healthier than anything. And you can go back to Gabe Brown, and I don't particularly care for Gabe Brown's attitude. I think he's an arrogant man. Some people think I'm arrogant. I'm not really arrogant. I just come off that way. I'm very understanding of a lot of things. I'm always willing to learn. And what I heard Gabe Brown talking about basically his layer flock. I think he's got 20,000 birds or some shit like that, and they're in his regenerative agricultural ranch of like 6,000 acres, which is beautiful. I mean, that's an awesome ranch if you ask me. But he's got chickens out there scratching, and I never heard him say that he's had avian flu, and that's a pretty good sized flock of range birds. But the eggs, when you crack an egg from backyard flock, you will know what I'm talking about if you ever got eggs from a backyard or actual true range chickens. You will know that those eggs, the yolks in those eggs are almost orange, like Alice Chalmers orange. That's how yellow they are, or orange they are. Whereas you go to the grocery store in the sterile environment where these birds are never exposed to anything, and when they are, they all die from it. Those eggs are just, yellow muck. And yeah, so it's not that healthy for you. The birds aren't that healthy, and those are the problems that you have. So anyway, with that being said, as these diseases hit these poultry houses, hog operations and beef operations, I haven't really heard anything of hoof and mouth lately, but that's coming. It's like, what's on the horizon for agriculture? How can they kill the price of corn and soybeans? Well, we kill off a bunch of animals that eat it. Beef, it's a 9-month gestation, but chickens, they lay an egg every goddamn day. So you've got fertilized eggs, you're hatching them out every 21 days, you're hatching out a new flock. You just buy more incubators and hatch more chickens out, so that can easily be recovered. And piglets, hogs really do produce a lot of piglets at a time. I mean, I've seen as many as 15 little piglets on one sow. And yes, at our home farm, we did this already. There's a lot of little piglets. You always have a runt, and in those large litters of pigs, you can have two runts, which, one, usually the second runt is when you take the first runt away, and then the other one's just push him off the tit. So, but anyway, we bottle fed plenty of pigs. So that all contributes to the higher prices, and obviously the consumer is going to have to buck up and pay the price and not complain that the farmer's getting rich, because this is the crazy thing. With the increase in everything that's happening to the consumer, the increase on the farmer is tenfold what it is to the consumer. Tenfold. And we're the only people out there that buy at retail and sell at wholesale, if you think about that. There are a few farmers that have their hand in the end product, and that's a good thing, but generally farmers aren't good at marketing stuff. I'm a victim of that too. I'm terrible at marketing, not terrible at it. I take risks and generally come out at smelling like a rose, but I err on the side of caution. And I haven't contracted any corn or beans for the fall just because I think we're still on the upswing. That's just my personal opinion. But here's a problem. You can contract whatever you want on the at the highest price, but if something happens like China invades Taiwan, and I'm going to give you a theory on my theory on that. Taiwan is in China's scopes. They want China, but I do believe that the Chinese Communist Party and the Russian Federation have come to an agreement that they don't want to be tied to the United States in any way, that they have to buy something from us, and China buys a lot of grain from us. Well, who produces a lot of grain in Europe? Can we think about this a little bit? Oh, wait a minute. The Ukraine. The Ukraine provides 14% of its grain to Europe. 14% of Europe's grain. I don't know if they sell to the Asian countries or not, but 14% of the grain that goes into Europe, or the total grain produced in Europe, is from the Ukraine. So China decides, all right, Russia, you go take Ukraine. We'll tell the United States, go fuck yourself, we're not buying your grain anymore, and we will invade Taiwan because we know there's going to be sanctions against us if we do this. And but you got to take Ukraine because we have to have a food supply. And then Europe can, the NATO nations, they can buy from the United States. Well, that's my theory. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I spend a lot of time in a truck or a tractor by myself, so my brain kind of works on this stuff, whether it's true or not. I just spew what kind of makes sense to me and why they would do such crazy things. But that's just, in my opinion, what China is up to. China needs Russia to take Ukraine so that Ukraine can be used as the Asian market for the grain that they need. Wheat, which they buy, corn, which they buy, and yeah, I don't know about soybeans. I don't know where they're getting their beans from. I don't know if Ukraine grows soybeans, but I'm pretty sure they do. I know they do in China because I do believe that's where the soybean came from. If and throws the grain market into a tailspin, all us farmers here in the United States of America, the U.S. of A., the home that I love, that is being destroyed by the Democrat Party and Joe Biden, 18,000 migrants a day will be coming across our borders. A day will be coming across our borders unopposed. Now let me tell you, that's an invasion force. I don't know why that idiot in the White House doesn't see that we have an invading force coming across our border. But whatever, that's a talk for another time. I'm just talking about input costs and what can happen. All this expensive fertilizer, $1,200 a ton, $1,300 a ton for fertilizer, to produce a crop that they're only offering $5 a ton more for. I can't afford to put fertilizer on that in any capacity. So my ground is going to go fertilizer free this year, other than what I'm carrying on my backside right now, which is mushroom compost. And if I put 1,000 pounds to the acre of this mushroom compost to the acre after I take hay off, I should be okay with a second cut of decent hay. And that's what my plan is. To do that. I will be planting between 1,000 and 1,500 acres of row crops this year. Soybeans, corn, and in the fall I will be putting in whatever soybeans will go into wheat, at least a large portion of it. I suspect I'll have between 400 and 600 acres of wheat put in the ground. The rest will go into rye, and that's just what's going to happen. I have to do that because there is no money in mulch hay right now. Diesel fuel at $4, equipment at $250,000 for a baler, tractors in the 300 plus thousand range to run those balers. tillage equipment at $100,000 for a 25-foot machine. Yeah, I just don't think so. 30-foot air seeder at $185 to $200,000. You know, at a 30-foot machine, 15-foot machine at $75 to $80,000, depending on what you get in there. I believe you can go to $90,000 with all the options with your grain drill, your 15-foot 1590 grain drill. I am not in any way going to spend that kind of money on a planting equipment when I can rebuild and repair what I've got and have it successfully, and I mean successfully, work. So, yeah, it's going to work good. I have all the faith in the world that it's going to just operate very well. So that's it. Is that the lady farmer thinks big? Oh wow, there you go. Welcome. Glad you're here. I saw your new boyfriend get whacked in the nuts the other day, and I had to chuckle, but I cringed at the same time. I was like, oh, he's going to end up in the hospital. I have a friend of mine that kicked another friend of mine in the balls so bad that they swelled up like a couple of bowling balls between his legs. He ended up in the hospital from it. He did have children, so. Now, what was that coming? Good morning, everyone. So, anyways, with these incredibly expensive input costs, if any hiccup happens in the world, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a lot of bankrupt farmers. A lot of bankrupt farmers. There's also the opportunity for farmers who have a clean, level head that know a little bit about nature and the way it works that'll come out smelling like a rose no matter what happens. Um, I'm hoping that I'm one of those guys that does that. I did actually purchase some liquid nitrogen, or I'm trying to purchase liquid nitrogen yesterday. I wanted to know what I was getting ass raped for. Yeah, I think it is. It is 7 o'clock in New Jersey. Yeah, I'm on my way back from the mushroom barn. I get up at 2:30 in the morning and usually on the road by about 5 minutes after 3, 10 minutes after 3 by the time I shit, get my clothes on, brush my teeth, make my coffee, and get out the door and into the truck. So, you know, and then I'll be back in an hour and a half, about an hour and a half to go, depending on the traffic. I had a truck in front of me and two straw trucks in front of me that had to be unloaded before they unloaded my load of hay. And I had a mulch hay truck or a compost truck in front of me that was loading out, and the guy was slower than molasses in January. So I don't know. You know, I mean, I'm not super fast with the loader, but I've been doing it long enough. Yeah, so I'm hoping that people are going to be penny wise here in this spring, and if you can get away with reducing your fertilizer inputs, stop trying to push to that 300 bushel average corn yield, because you know what? If you cut your fertilizer by say 1/3, you'll be money ahead in the end. You know, a pound of nitrogen. I'm starting to believe that a pound, 1.2 pounds of nitrogen for every bushel of corn you want to produce is exaggerated. It's been exaggerated. I think you can do just as much with. I think you can do just as well with 150 bushel or 150 units to produce that 250 bushel crop. I would say that you have to have a good healthy microbiome in the soil in order to do that. And I'm bolstering the microbiome and the biomass that is on the soil to create that healthier microbiome in the soil to create nitrogen by what I'm using here and my secret sauce. My secret sauce will actually set this shit on fire and make it break down at a rate that is uh, a really good rate, you know. And I'm going to put my secret sauce on the hay now. I got to get my sprayer going, but I'm going to do that pretty much in the next week or two. In the next week to get that thing up and going so that the microbiome is set on fire. The exudates from the grass that I've got planted there will be, sequestering the microbes, and the fungi, mycorrhizal fungi will be forming on those roots, which it is already. That hay, the grass hay that I have put lime on, has just kicked it in gear with really no fertilizer added. It was just that lime because the pH on the soil is kind of low, and grass and other row crops will actually sweeten or sour the soil to its liking, as long as the microbiome is there. But using commercial fertilizers, believe it or not, commercial fertilizers stops the exudates from being exuded from the roots in your growing cover crop, whether it be a hay crop or any kind of cover crop that you've got on there. It just stops it because the plant is lazy. It just says, oh, there's plenty of nitrogen here. I don't need to exude these things. Oh, there's plenty of phosphate here. I don't need to exude that stuff. There's plenty of this, that, and the other thing. And then the microbiome is not pulling calcium, or the plant is like, well, there's plenty of nutrient here. I don't need the pH levels to I don't need to adjust pH levels because I don't need the microbiome right now. I just don't need it because there's no need for it. And that's why when you see corn, late summer corn, when it's putting on an ear, you'll see that nitrogen run out. It runs out because there's nothing there to feed it nitrogen. There's no carbon to nitrogen ratio process happening. There's no organic residue converting to organic matter process happening. It's not happening because the plants have not sequestered these things. And that's where my secret sauce will keep that microbiome going, and the decay of the armor or the cover crop that I'm going to have there is going. It will be eaten away by the bacteria and the fungus and everything else that goes on there, and it will be converting that organic matter, or that organic cover crop, organic residue, into organic matter. And the plants, hopefully the plants, will be exuding liquid carbon, or these exudates, which is CO2 gas, or CO2 out of the atmosphere, putting it into the soil, creating food for that microbiome as well. And they will continue to thrive through the photosynthesis process. There's just a lot of stuff going on there. And with the compost that I'm putting down, there will be a lot of biomass that I'm adding that wouldn't have been there. It just wouldn't be there if I go out and kill it with Roundup right away, which I'm not going to do. I'm actually going to let this stuff grow. I'm actually going to let weeds grow, believe it or not. I'm not going to go out in some of this barren ground that I had from corn ground last year. I'm going to plant them beans right into those weeds, and then there's not many weeds there. There's some grasses, and there's nothing noxious or anything. But even a thistle puts down a taproot really, really deep. Oh my God, you fucking idiot. What are you doing? You really need to get to work that bad? You want to crash, you fucking asshole? Did you see that? You didn't see that. Nobody saw that. My camera saw it, though. I've got a camera there, and I don't know what these people are doing, but they're fucking stupid. What a bunch of stupid motherfuckers. Jesus Christ. If you're that late to get to work that you got to squeeze up the median there, you should have left earlier. And yes, I'm coming across, dude. Yeah, you are going to move over. See, this is a a left-hand entrance onto the highway, which in England it's no big deal, but here in the United States it's a bit of a big deal because we drive on the right-hand side of the road and you're supposed to move over to the left. Well, on the other highway, it's, other parts of the world, it's a little different. So, but anyways, I think I pissed people off and they just pissed me off, and that's life. But, yeah, so if you're a farmer and you're interested in growing a crop using Mother Nature, there's a lot of information on the internet. YouTube is an incredible tool to use, and you will come to realize, if you have an open mind, that Mother Nature knows better than any human being ever did. And we could go back to the coronavirus on that one. So human beings thought it would be a good idea to take coronavirus and then mutate it into something to weaponize it. But, we'll be smart enough and we'll be careful. We won't let it out until we want it out. Unfortunately, human beings ain't that smart. We're lazy. There's shortcuts that can be made, and we can do them. And that's what happened, and that's why the whole world's been shut down. But, and it's the same thing in farming. What's the lazy man's way of making a crop grow? Just go down to a local fertilizer plant. We'll buy all the things the plant needs, and yet we starve out the microbiome beneath our feet, which there's more life beneath our feet than there is anywhere on the planet. As a matter of fact, I do believe that there's more microorganisms that crawl on our skin than there are cells in our body. And I know that to be true in plants, that there are more microorganisms that live within and outside of the plant than there are actual cells of that plant. And that is just an amazing thing to me. It is a symbiotic circle. If you watch the Star Wars trilogy, or I guess it's octility now, or maybe even more. I don't know how many movies are there when Qui-Gon Jinn says that it's a symbiotic circle. It is very true. We live in a symbionce with everything around us, and usually when things bad happen, it's because of human interaction or intervention. And yeah, so I won't talk about that too much. I just want you guys that are using the commercial fertilizers and full-on commercial fertilizers, I am in no way I'm weaning myself off of the commercial fertilizers. The stuff that's on my trailer right now is basically an organic fertilizer. It is compost or spent mushroom soil. I have seen wonderful results from it in hay fields. I have seen wonderful results on it in the cornfields. I've seen wonderful results from it in soybean fields. You just have to, you just don't overdo anything. Too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing, and that's what you don't want to happen, is have too much of a good thing, because then it becomes a negative. And, for like growing corn, I think I got 4 tons to the acre on with what I did. I think that's what my final number was for corn. And I did 2 tons to the acre for soybeans. I didn't need 2 tons to the acre for soybeans. That's all the faster I could sit in the seat, I was really moving right along. And I just felt that 2 tons to the acre, that'll help. That'll house some of the microbiome that I need, and it will leach out into the soil and help create everything that I need in that soil to make those soybeans grow like crazy. There is rhizobum in this stuff, in the rhizosphere, building a rhizosphere for the soybeans to produce their own nitrogen, or the fixed nodules. I am sure I need to get some inoculation for my soybeans. I did buy naked soybeans. I know that the fertilizer plant was like, why do you want to buy beans with no coating on them? Well, I don't want neonicotinoids on my soybeans. He says, well, you're going to have bug problems, and there goes a soybean roasting truck. I don't want neonicotinoids on my soybeans. And you're like, well, you're going to have bug problems. I said, I don't believe I will. He says, well, you better put more seed to the acre. I was like, well, I usually put 90 pounds. He's like, oh, well, you don't need that much. It's just the seeds are small. They're going with a smaller seed for seed beans. which kind of is weird to me. But I always like to put the damn cat's eye marbles in the ground. They always seem to do the best for us. But I opened up one of those boxes and looked at it yesterday, and I couldn't believe it's like birdshot in there. And there's 5,200 and some odd seeds per pound of soybean seed in that box. So if I put 70 pound to the acre, which is a little more, 10 pounds more than a bushel of beans. If I put 70 pound to the acre, that's going to give me 192,000 seeds to the acre. And I thought that the germination of those seeds was dismal. Dismal. It was only 85%. I'm like, what the fuck? I paid all this money for 85% germination? That's crazy. So, my grandmother used to do our germination tests, and she was really good at it. She would just give me a handful of seed, and she would count them out. She would count out, 200 seeds and throw those in there, and she would germinate them. And we were always in the mid 90s with germination on that, but we always put 90 pound down because we had a variation in seed size. Well, I've got a really nice seed cleaner, and I could singulate out the smaller seed if I wanted to save seed, which would be illegal right now because it is Roundup Ready 2. I'm not allowed to do that unless I pay the tech fee at least I think the tech fee is still a thing. I don't know. I didn't see a tech fee on the on the bill, so maybe it isn't. But anyway, I probably won't be saving any of that seed anyways. Just because I've seen over the years the different genetics in soybeans to produce higher yields. I'm not really interested in super high yields on soybeans. I'm interested in disease resistant, drought resistance, and standability. That's really my thing with corn and soybeans, and it should be everybody's thing, because the higher you push the yield on a certain variety, it's just like, well, let's put it this way: when you add something, you take something away, and it's always been that way. I don't know if a lot of you guys are old enough to remember when soybeans really hit the United States, at least in our area here. Soybeans weren't really a big thing back in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. I was born in 72, and my dad was really, we grew soybeans, and there was a lot of farmers that weren't growing soybeans at the time. We had cattle. There was cattle, there was dairy, there was, beef and dairy, there was, there were beans being grown, but not on such a large scale. It was pretty much corn for silage and wheat for grain and stuff like that. But as time progressed, well, the varieties of way back when, you get a hot day in late September, early October, and the damn pods would open up and the beans would all shatter. They'd fall out on the ground. And I had posted some pictures on my Instagram of my dad holding me in his arms, and my two sisters were standing beside him in a soybean field in about 1975 or 1976. It had to be 1974, 75, something, 75, 76, in that range. And those soybeans, I remember being with my mother walking through that field when they were just mature enough to combine, and she was like almost in tears, because as we walked through the field, the pods were snapping open like little snapdragons, and the grain was falling on the ground. And then and I remember when my dad combined it, because I was with him, and the soybeans coming off the reel, you had to adjust that reel mechanically. That was mechanic. No, it had a hydraulic lever. It was the TR70. So that would have been 1976. The TR70 was new in 76. And I remember hearing the soybeans hitting the glass on the cab, because they were just shattering all over the place. And they figured their yield loss was like 5 or 6 bushels to the acre. Well, back in the 70s, soybeans were worth $12 a bushel. Yeah, $12 a bushel. $8, $9, $10 a bushel. You were, people complained. But you know, the soybean varieties, you know, if you got 35, 40 bushel to the acre, doing good. Today's varieties, 80, 90, 100 bushel to the acre is not unheard of. And that's why I'm kind of going to lean towards the not saving any of that seed and just using the latest and the greatest varieties of soybean seed as they come out. Just because that's what I want to do. Now, if it costs me a few bucks, then it costs me a few dollars. I think I've got. Now, what the hell do I have into those soybeans? I think. Well, I could tell you. I can't remember the price of it, but I know what the price of it was. But I think it's going to be. I think it's somewhere in that $25,000-$30,000 range for the soybeans that I need, that I bought. I think. No, yeah, it's a 25 to $30,000. That's where we're at with the seed that I bought for 400 acres, 450 acres. That's where we're at, and that's fine because right now soybeans are what, 16, 17, $18 a bushel. At least they were. I haven't looked now. I should probably forward contract some, but I'm not really that anxious to do that, and I got to get around this rolling bomb. And I think that dude that's coming up beside me is not happy about that. There he goes. He must have to take a shit. That dude is motoring. I'm in the slow lane, and they won't go over to the fast lane. They just go in the slow lane to pass everybody because they're crazy. So yeah, now as far as the corn, the seed corn that I bought, I was corrected yesterday. I thought I had gotten 345 units. I didn't. I got 245 bags of seed corn to plant my 600 acres of seed of corn. Yeah, there's for seed alone, and you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, yeah." Well, I agree. It doesn't need to be that high a price. Well, no, it doesn't. The reason that it is that high a price isn't because it costs more to grow that seed crop by that much. It's because the price that you'll get for the end product is higher. And they know that. So they're like, oh, well, corn could be $8 a bushel come October, November. And I hope it's not, but it could be. And, you know, so they're like, well, it's all in numbers, and they want to fleece the farmer. They want the farmer to buy this stuff, and they know the farmer wants to grow it because the farmer knows that at the end of the rainbow, if everything is right, they could have a bumper crop and they can become millionaires. And the fertilizer company knows that, and the seed companies all know that. And they don't really want a farmer to become a millionaire. They want their share of his $1 million. You know, and let's face it, $1 million in a farming operation today isn't that much. I blew past that a long time ago. You know, per year. It's just, so you make $1 million, you earn $1 million, or you sell $1 million worth of a product. Like I said, I blew past that a long time ago. And, you know, and it's all relevant, and these companies do know this. They're like, oh, well, if this farmer grows 1,000 acres of let's just use corn for a crop to grow. He grows 1,000 acres of corn. He raises, just say, 175 bushels of corn, you know, for that 1,000 acres. Well, there's 175,000. There's 175,000 bushels of corn that this farmer's gonna have to sell if he averages 175 bushels to the acre. 175, it just say conservatively right now, 7. There's your $1 million. You know, there's your $1 million. So that seed corn that they put up by $50 a bag is now, or $75 a bag in my case, that $75 they just made, let's see, it would be let's just say 500 units of seed to grow that 500 times that extra $75 a bag. Well, that's a shit ton of money. I mean, it's a shit ton of money. So yeah, that's where that money goes. You know, that's where it goes. So for every 100 units, you got $7,500. You do 75 times 7,500 times 500. 7,500 times 500 or times 5. It becomes 7 7 is 14. So it's 15 is 30. So that's 60. You're looking at a shit ton more money. It's just a lot more money. And yeah, wow, big bucks. You're looking at $37,500 more than what it would have been the previous year. And it's not because it cost $37,500 to grow that seed. It's because the farmer's going to make more money and they can gouge that farmer out of that money because we buy it retail and sell it wholesale. So, yeah, sucks. Sucks that they do that, you know. And I get it. Fertilizer costs, oh, that's just asinine. That's asinine. Back in the 90s, there was a big thing about, hey, in the farm magazines, you know, some of you guys were born some of the highest prices in the 90s. I believe in 1995 we had $5.25 a bushel for corn, which was like the highest price I had ever seen in my life. And I remember, I'll never forget the milk truck driver coming in to pick up milk, and he's like, "Oh, I see you're selling some gold out of the grain bin." And it was because the auger was set up there, and that wasn't the case. We weren't selling anything. We were actually grinding feed for the cows to run through the cows for $10.20 a hundred for the milk. So the ratio, you know, the corn to milk ratio was not. Well, we should have sold the cows then and sold the corn too. It would have been a better deal. This would have been smarter, you know. But anyways, that's just the way the world works, right? That's just the way the world works. And not only are the seed companies and the fertilizer companies all gouging the shit out of farmers, you got the landowners that want to gouge the shit out of farmers too. They're like, oh, well, you're going to make more money than ever. I see the price of corn is going to be, you know, $7, $8 a bushel in the fall, and you're only paying, let's just use stupid numbers here in the Midwest, $300 an acre, $325 an acre rent. So we want to up that by 10%. We want an extra $35 or $40 an acre, and all that does is make that farmer who thinks he's going to make something and might get ahead enough to buy more land, and actually that rent payment would become a mortgage payment or whatever, and it just takes that ability away from the farmer to be able to do that. And those are financial decisions that people have to come up with anyway. So by the time this is all done, at the end of this year, I honestly do believe that there's going to be a lot of bankers that are freaking out, because how in the hell are they going to pay their bills when the bottom or the rug gets pulled out from under them? And, you know, I mean, look at John Deere. Look at Case, or International, Case International, CNH, Case New Holland, I guess it is. Just look at them people. Look at AGCO. Look at all the increased costs that for equipment and parts. Parts is what's killing me. Even in like Shoop, I pulled an old Shoop catalog out from like 5 years ago and compared the parts that I would have bought 5 years ago to fix my 750 grain drill, and compared them to today, and it's like a 50% increase on all that stuff. And that's no shit. It's a 50% increase from 5 or 6 years ago till today. Don't make steel here in the United States anymore. They have to buy. I do believe John Deere and Case and all those foundries are still running, but man, there's just a lot of that a load of shit. In the middle of Philadelphia, this thing's kicking out on me. In order to build a grain bin, I should have ordered it like 2 years ago, because it's available. Everything's sold out. Anybody that has the ability or the foresight to buy or build a grain bin, they did it, or they've ordered it, and there's the supply chain, because the steel isn't being made here in the United States to build grain bins. It's on boats coming from some other country, and that's kind of ridiculous. You know, the corrugated steel. Now, they do roll them here. I see steel coming off because I do live in New Jersey, and I go through Philadelphia all the time, and there's a lot of steel on this road that I'm on right now. I probably passed 4 or 5 steel trucks going up and down this road, just because it's coming out of the port, because there's no more USA steel here. There's no more Fairless steel here. There's no more Bethlehem steel here. They're all gone. Oh, there's a homeless encampment. There's getting more and more of that. They tore all these down over here, and they're back. They're back, and they're expanding. You know, there's going to be more and more of that happening, you know, in this country. So, but anyways, I'm sure there's being able to get stuff. You know, shortages on food, and shortages on fertilizer, and shortages in parts and pieces. It took me a month. I think it took me a month and a half to get all the parts. I just finally got the last of the parts for that 750 grain drill, and I don't need anything for my corn planter, but because I ordered that when I ordered the parts for the grain drill, so I've got corn planter parts there as well. But hey, it could be a royal shit show before we're all done with this thing, but we don't know. We just don't know. I'm going to postpone planting a little bit longer than I did last year, because we're not going to North Carolina. That's not happening, unfortunately. I just don't have the time to do it, and the manpower isn't there. And due to current events in my life, which I'm not going to talk about right now, I'm talking about it in a couple of weeks or maybe a month, about what happened and why I stopped posting on the other channel. And we're going to have some interesting conversations about that and the justice system in this country and how it's perverted and broken. But that's okay, because that's one of the reasons why we will not be going to North Carolina. But in the interim, my wife has decided that she wants to grow a ginormous garden and sell produce from her garden. So we will be doing that as well. And I think that would be pretty cool too. And I do have a project that I'm not willing to let out just yet, that I will be making available to every YouTuber on YouTube if they want it. I will actually be advertising this thing. And it's not the FJ Dynamics auto steer system. I like that system a lot, but it will be something that everyone can purchase and enjoy, immensely enjoy. And it will be reasonably priced, that even a child can afford it. And if it doesn't work out for me, well, hell, at least I tried, and you can't fault me for that. And I think anybody, even if you hate my guts, you're going to love this. You're going to love it. I know you will. I know you will. But I don't want to announce what it is until probably the middle of June, when everybody's done planting what they're planting. We'll leave it at that. So, but anyways, with that, I think I'm going to let you all go. I'm in North Philadelphia now. I left the mushroom barn and fired this sucker up, and now I'm in North Philadelphia. Pretty decent trip so far. And yeah, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. And to Mr. Louis Bilborough, that is so bored because his girlfriend is in Ohio right now, and he's probably finished up watching gay porn for the night, and it's now morning. He's moved on to animal porn, and yeah, he can watch this without being, and that's just a joke. It's just a joke. Don't get too wound up about it. He knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye-bye.